All right, Battletech enthusiasts, let's take a look at the Longbow. Is this a mech to include in your lance? Is this a mech to possibly build your forces in another direction? Now, out of all the mechs that I've played and that I enjoy, the Longbow and the Battlemaster are the two machines that I love the most. Naturally, and we all have our favorite mechs in the Battletech universe, naturally it's going to color your opinion a little bit. But I want to push this out there because through playing this, it's not only a realistic expectation, I have this mech down to a science on the tabletop. And I want to share that. I want to push that out. So we have an assault class mech, which means a lot of possibilities there. You have the tonnage to possibly do a lot of things. We're looking stock Longbow on here. 2 long-range missile, 20 packs. Right away, I like that. I like a mech that can pack 2 of something, 2 PPCs, 2 or more medium lasers, because now it builds in some redundancy. If I can control the range, if I can get cover and keep my movement modifiers down to a minimum, what that means is with both of those, I have a good possibility of hitting with average dice. If the dice are above average, then I'm going to hit you with 2. I also like 20 packs, that number right there, 20. LRM 5, you're like, okay, I could take it. Not that you ever want to get hit, but I could take it. LRM 10, you immediately start to notice. But you say, well, the clusters, the spread of the missiles, okay, maybe I could take 1 hit. LRM 15, you're starting to get nervous. LRM 20, we're getting into AC 20 range. We're getting into a high volume of damage range, especially now that that is pushed out. That's what makes LRMs so potent, in that an autocannon 20, you got to get up there. You're going to see it coming, right? You could either run away, you could reinforce, you could brawl. It's point-blank range. Not that I want to get hit with an AC 20. LRM 20, the range. Once we add in indirect fire, range, indirect fire, 2 of them, we have an amazing support platform to push that out. On top of that, now I just said I don't like 2 LRM 5s, but we're going to stack in 2 LRM 5s. That's going to bring the missile quotient up even higher. So we've got something that one mech that can pump out the firepower, the long-range missile firepower, perhaps of 1 or 2 smaller mechs or 1 or 2 even heavy mechs on there. Just missiles for missile on there. Downside. Cost. Once we get over 1,000 battle value, I feel like we have to really, really scrutinize things and see how the other elements in our list are going to pull together. And do I have enough? Is my battle value spread enough across my other mechs and machines and tanks and infantry to accomplish mission goals? It's really easy to sink your battle value into 1 or 2 assault mechs, and that leaves you vulnerable because maybe you don't have a recon aspect, or you don't have some medium mechs that are able to kind of cover things on there. Not that your list is bad, but assault mechs can potentially be a battle value assault terrain on that. Armor. Absolutely awful armor. I mean, the armor is such that rear armor is crazy. It's not even really there. Your left arm, your right arm, where the LRM 20s are, that's paper thin. So you start taking a good spread of damage. You might lose. That gets blasted off. Now you're down 1 of them. And on top of that, all of the missiles. All of those missiles, you get hit with a crit. Your opponent rolls snake eyes for something. Just the usual Battletech shenanigans on there. You are very, very, very vulnerable. This is in a chassis of an assault mech. Now, it needed that assault mech tonnage in order to pack all those missiles, but it's very easy as a player, your first couple of games, to be like, well, it's an assault mech. It can take it. Even though you see the sheet, you see the battle sheet on there, but in your mind, it's an assault mech. So how do we utilize this? If your opponent is shooting at your Longbow, we've got problems. And not necessarily just maybe a long-range autocannon shot or flyby kind of plane type shot or hover attack shot. But if they're dedicating 2 or 3 mechs to pounce on your Longbow, it's going to go down pretty fast on there. And that battle value is going to be out. That support's going to be out. So how do we incorporate this? I find it works best as a dedicated long-range kind of fire base. This is one of the builds. I castle up in a certain area on the table with one longbow, maybe 2 LRM missile carriers if I want to keep the battle value down. Most times at a minimum, 2 longbows. And then I'll take an Orion, a Thunderbolt, maybe a Warhammer, and usually a Warhammer. I'll park it with that. That is the blocking unit. That's the unit that's going to protect me from my opponent coming in. And then I'll also have another recon unit, usually a Locust. Maybe if I'm really starved for battle value, it'll be some sort of air or possibly hover or light tank that can move fast to get indirect fire. That's the ideal setup. I've experimented with a setup where it's just a lone longbow on a hill, much like kind of the classic rifleman, right? Sitting on a hill, plinking out, shooting out, laying down some firepower, or a Jaeger mech, another great example. Not a lot of damage, but constant damage every turn churning out. The challenge there, of course, is those mechs work better because they have more armor, and the damage against your opponent, they don't want to ignore it, but it's not critical damage. I mean, it's good damage every turn you're putting down there, but it's vastly different than here. LRM 20, LRM 25, 5, coming at you, indirect fire on that. That forces your opponent. This is the challenge with the longbow. It's almost too good for what it does. It forces your opponent to deal with it. You don't give them any choice. You have to. They have to deal with it on there. Using it as a support mech to move forward with your other lances, with your other lance mates. I find it doesn't work here. So let's just say we're flush in battle value, and we're going to go, okay, Battlemaster as my brawler. I'm going to take a Griffin as kind of the medium mech sniper. I'm going to take the longbow, and I'll take maybe, what's another great light mech? Shadowhawk, Phoenix Hawk, something like that. And as I advance forward with the Battlemaster, or maybe it's an Awesome or an Atlas, then the longbow's going to kind of stay behind a couple of hexes and just pump out lots and lots of missiles, right? Kind of like a classic mech firing in as you get closer, and then it switches over to the mediums and the assaults. The challenge there is you are putting that longbow, yes, it's putting out a massive amount of shots, but you are putting that longbow in harm's way. It doesn't have the armor. It doesn't even have the hands to start brawling, the arms to start brawling. You're going to take damage. It's going to blow off your LRM 20s. You're going to take possible ammo hits. If someone moves behind you and they're fast, they're going to get rear armor. You're going to get smoked so fast, you need to keep it away. In that regard, the Archer works much better. And in my list, the elements of this kind of longbow fire support base are either Archers or longbows. I prefer the longbows, but I can't argue with the effectiveness of the Archers. The difference with the Archers is that, yes, you're stock Archer. You're losing the 2 LRM 5s, but you're gaining more armor, you're gaining arms to punch, and you're gaining the medium laser arrays. So when you close in, you're able to add a little bit more something to it. You're able to take a little bit more damage. That I find the Archer works great with building a castled up firebase, yet at the same time, it does allow the tactical flexibility to advance with your other mechs and your other machines in there, although you do have to be careful. Again, a lot of missiles, a lot of stuff in there. But tactically, that's how I see the longbow fitting on the table. Very, very, very specialized firebase, maximum missile saturation type role. Anything that starts to deviate that, I feel you put yourself at a lot of vulnerability. Of course, you can address that by injecting other elements into your list, mechs and vehicles and infantry, to prevent your opponent from taking advantage of the disadvantages. But now I'm throwing more battle value on something when possibly I want to take that battle value and throw it somewhere else. I'll leave you with this. What is the average Battletech point value game? We tend to play in an evening, a 4 or 5 hour game, about 4,000 to 5,000 battle value. We could do 6. There are some times we push it up to 8, but anywhere from 4 to 6, usually about 5, let's say. In that, with the toys, 2 longbows, 2 LRM carriers, That's 20, 20, 20 on those missiles. They've got 3 LRM 20s each. And a Thunderbolt or a Warhammer as my blocking type unit. Or if I need to save points, Demolisher tanks. Can't argue with a Demolisher tank. The advantage the Demolisher tanks have there is they have the armor, they have the turret, so if they get disabled, they're there. And the short range of the autocannon 20s, well, first of all, you can't argue with an autocannon 20, right? Their short range is negated because if I park them with the longbows and the long-range missile carriers, you're coming in. You're sending in some mech forces or some sort of recon element to take that out. You are closing the distance for me. I don't have to go out and try and chase after you, hunt you down with autocannon 20s, which they never work that way. Maybe we'll do an autocannon 20 tactical bit on there. But that's going to pull you in closer. Those tanks are going to be there. They're going to meet you. They're going to push out that threat bubble. And then on top of that, if they get immobilized, they've got the turret. They're going to be shooting. The Warhammer's going to be going out. But that's a lot of long-range missile shots. That's 20, 20, 20 on one LRM, 20, 20, 20 on the second LRM, 20, 20, 5, 5 longbow, 20, 20, 5, 5 longbow. That's a lot of heat. That is a lot of pain coming down.